Hello there, and welcome to part 16 of SR250. Right then, today's job. New set of gaskets for the engine, so I'll replace all of those. And these are all the old engine casing bolts. A few of them are black now because I used a couple to hold the casings on whilst I was spraying them, but they were, or still are, shitty kind of Phillips head bolts. A few of them are a bit rounded off, so I've just nipped up to screw fix. Got myself a couple of bags of M6 socket head bolts, so replace them all so they all look nice and new and spanky. So there we go, that's today's job. And here comes Jen. That sounds like her, yeah, that's Jen. So there you go, there's the old the carb on there with the new gasket installed. So I'm just going to slowly work my way around everything. So under the cover here, up next, yeah, just slowly working my way around the whole bike. Sorry, not bike, engine. So yeah, so new ring in there to dig out all the oil filter and whatnot. So yeah, stick with it. I'm just what I'm doing basically for these, I've cleaned up all the surfaces where the gasket's going to sit. To be honest, it's kind of old. Most of it, luckily, just all flaked off, and there was very little kind of old gasket scraping to do on there. But once they're cleaned up, the paper gaskets here, all I'm using is just to hold it in place more than anything than run to seal. Just a bit of high temperature black sealant, just putting a blob on there just to hold the gasket in place while I'm manoeuvring stuff and getting the bolts in. All the bolts are getting a little lick of copper slip on there, and the rubber O-ring type seals, like that. There, I've just got some engine oil in here, and I'm just giving them a little run round with engine oil before I put them on. In terms of torque settings, I haven't got the full. Well, I've got some downloads of various manuals, but the actual specific torque settings I don't have. Although the Yamaha manual on there sort of gives you an approximation for, depending on the size of the bolt. So say an M6 bolt is, I think, 4.5 foot-pounds of torque on one of those. So that works out about, I think, about 6 point something Newton meters. The Bonnie, looking on those engine bolts on there, I think are 8 Newton meters each. So if I go between 6 and 7 on most of those, I think I should be all right. So yeah, I'll just basically just place the camera down and crack on with assembly. Really need to gaffer tape this phone to my head so I can free up my other hand. It's a bit too awkward. There you go, just popping the new O-ring in, smear of engine oil around there. They've sent me, well, in the kit, which is for an SR250 of this year, it is supposed to be the same model, but as you can see, the gasket is not quite the fit. And the only thing I can think of, this is where the end of the starter motor is in, whether or not there was some difference at some point. This was one with a kickstart or some slight variation on it, but no biggie really. All I'm going to done is where all the chains and everything inside there, I've trimmed it to fit, and then just for this edge here I'll just use some of the instant gasket stuff, so no worries. So yep, just a minor little hiccup, but we shall overcome it. Right, so that's all the gaskets. I'll show it all when it's all done, but all that side and the valve covers and whatnot are done. So I've just popped out to the bike shop, got myself some oil for the engine, so I can fill up the oil filter, get that all buttoned in as well on the other side. I'm going to put in the new drain plug, and we got the this is the new drain plug, the one that was welded on when I got the bike, so I can go on. That also has this kind of spring and strainer arrangement that goes in there as well, so I'll pop all that on, otherwise when I fill it with oil it's just going to pour back out again. I also gave the underneath of the engine a couple of coats of high temperature engine enamel. It's a gloss black rather than the satin black, but I mean you won't really see that when it's in the bike. It's mainly just, I kind of just did it, just there was a few areas when it had been up on the stands when I was spraying the engine where I hadn't quite caught it all, and also because this gets, you know, a lot of battering from the gravel and crap off the road, I thought a few extra, almost like a sort of a stone chip, but just super thick coating of that just on the underneath, just to keep it looking nice and tidy. But right, going to need two hands again as usual, so I'll pop the old cap in there. Right then, that's the engine pretty much ready to go in. All the shitty old bolts have been replaced, new gaskets, some new spark plugs in there. I have actually whacked in the oil in the engine as well. I'm not envisioning this going on for years and years and years, so I'm not worried about it all sitting in there. Even if it does, I'd rather an engine was sitting there full of oil and drain it all out anyway. So that's in there. Everything's torqued up. Yeah, we're pretty much there. So as exciting as it is, that's the engine with all its bits of hardware still back on. So I think this is its best side, or the side I'd rather like. So yeah, so wherever I can replace a new bolt, I might go in and just trim that overlapper gasket. They're quite generous gaskets. That looks a bit shitty, doesn't it, really? So I'll probably go in and trim that. But there we go. She's kind of pretty much as she'll sit in the engine, which leads me on to now. I'm having a bit of a think. I might whack on the engine mounts and stick the frame over the top of it whilst it's sort of here, and that way I'm going to get a better idea, now we've got the pod in and whatnot, how far that's going to kick back into the frame, and then I can have a look at where I can do something with the battery, just get a bit of a better idea of the layout rather than just trying to guess it and all that kind of stuff. So right, I'll dig out the engine bolts and the plates and then carefully stick the frame over the top of it. And there we go. A good reason why it's always nice to be sort of assembling stuff before making any final commitments. That's it with the frame. I've just poked some long bolts through the engine mounts there and there, just to hold it in situ, and assembled a few things on it. And as you can see, the pod filter's off because the old bracket that held the rectifier and I think that was the kind of plastic toolbox and gubbins underneath there, an airbox, that just fouls, so can't really get the pod filter in, and even if it would just squeeze in, you'd have to remove the filter. It's an arse to manoeuvre it in, so that's quite good in the sense that has kind of made the decision for me now. Now I've got it all mounted where it wants, that bracket will definitely have to come off, and either mount a bracket lower to attach a battery box to. But just as I was looking at it now, I thought what might be nice for the electrics battery ignition in here, sort of like a, well, you get an old fire extinguisher or some kind of metal bottle, but like a circular teeth back in, a cylinder of some description in there, you know, with the, so it'd just be like the empty hole and then just a circle there. Might even Photoshop something up just to have a look, see if that would look interesting. Just about there, possibly. I've got to make sure the swing arm is there, so it's got to be higher for the swing arm and allow for a bit of movement. So yeah, about there would be spot on, and just low enough to miss the air filter. So yeah, so I mean, these are all sort of bits that I've got to get finalised before I'll make any commitments to finish on the paint. Flipping heck, man, just a bit long day today. Any final commitments with the frame, because otherwise I'm just throwing money away if I get stuff powder coated, put it all on and go, oh, I hadn't put this on the dry build, so now I have to mar up the paintwork. But there you go, it's nice to see it sort of looking a bit more like a bike again, ish. It's quite an exciting sort of point, you know, when you start seeing things come back together. There's not just hundreds of pieces scattered everywhere. But there we go. That's pretty much the day done for me now. I've got other stuff to get on with, unfortunately. The belts have arrived for the Dyson, so I better fix that and do some housework, and we're out for a ride tonight. So there we go, fun and games. But yeah, that's a little bit more progress made. So until next time, which will probably be bringing out the angle grinder again. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon.